Here's the thing. I was just trying to get home, sip my coffee, and mind my damn business when 3 cops rear-ended my Jeep and decided it was my fault. Next thing I know, I'm in cuffs, surrounded by a crowd with their phones out, and these clowns are acting like they're the stars of a bad cop drama. What they didn't know, they just picked a fight with the wrong guy. Buckle up, because this ride's about to get wild. So there I was, minding my own damn business, cruising home after a long night shift. Let me tell you, I wasn't exactly in the mood for drama. I had my coffee in the cup holder, my favorite jazz playlist humming in the background, and all I could think about was getting out of this suit and into something that didn't scream. I've been working for 12 hours straight. My name's Jerome Wilson, by the way. 50 years old, and yes, before you ask, the gray hairs are real. Life's been generous like that. Anyway, I'm sitting at a red light waiting for my turn when, boom! Out of nowhere, this police cruiser slams into the back of my black Jeep, my pride and joy, my Black Knight. The sound was so loud I almost spilled my coffee. Almost. I step out, trying to process what just happened, and here they come. 3 white cops piling out of the cruiser like it's some kind of clown car. Their faces? Oh, they were pissed. Like, I spilled my beer at the game, kind of pissed. The leader of the pack, Officer Baker, stomps toward me with a swagger that screams, "I'm the boss here." He points a finger at me like I'm some punk who just keyed his car. "What the hell were you thinking, old man?" he barks. "You can't just stop in the middle of the damn road." Now I'm standing there, blinking at him like he just told me the sky is green. "Middle of the road? I was at a red light, sir," I reply, keeping my tone calm because let's face it, this isn't my first rodeo with guys like him. But Baker's not having it. "Don't get smart with me," he snaps. "You rear-ended us, and now you're gonna pay for it." At this point, the other 2 officers, Smith and Johnson, start circling me like vultures. One of them, Smith, leans against my Jeep like he's claiming it for the police department, while Johnson starts writing something on a notepad, probably a ticket for driving while black. "Are you kidding me right now?" I say, pulling out my phone. "This is all on my dash cam. I didn't hit you, you hit me." And that's when Smith decides to up the ante. He snatches the phone out of my hand like he's snatching candy from a baby. "You're not recording this," he says with a smirk. "That's illegal, you know." "Illegal? Really?" I almost laughed, but it wasn't funny. Not yet, anyway. The crowd started gathering because, let's be real, nothing draws a crowd like flashing lights and yelling cops. People had their phones out, recording the whole thing, and I could tell that was making Baker nervous. His eyes darted to the phones, then back to me, and I swear I saw a little bead of sweat trickle down his temple. "Get back in your car," Baker growled at me, but I stood my ground. "Nah," I said, crossing my arms. "I'm not moving until you explain why you're blaming me for your screw-up." That must have hit a nerve because Baker's face turned a lovely shade of tomato red. He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the coffee on his breath. "Listen here, old man," he said, his voice low. "You either get back in that car, or we're taking you in for obstructing an officer." At this point, I had a choice: back down and let them railroad me, or stand tall and see where this goes. Spoiler alert, I chose option 2. "You know what?" I said, pulling out my wallet and flashing my old badge. "Yep, I used to be one of them, a police captain, back in the day, but I didn't say a word about that, not yet." "Here's my license and registration," I said instead, handing them over with a smile. The crowd was getting bigger, and the murmurs were getting louder. Someone shouted, "Hey, we've got this on camera," and I couldn't help but smirk. Baker snatched the papers from my hand, his jaw tightening. "Get in your car and wait," he barked before storming off to his cruiser. I leaned against my Jeep, arms crossed, watching as he huddled with his buddies, all of them glancing nervously at the growing crowd. It was like watching a bad cop drama unfold in real time. "You messed with the wrong guy today," I thought to myself, but I didn't say it. Not yet. This was just the beginning. So there I am, leaning against my Jeep, still trying to process how 3 grown-ass cops managed to turn their screw-up into my problem. Meanwhile, Baker, Smith, and Johnson are huddled by their cruiser, whispering like kids plotting a prank. Spoiler alert, the prank's on me. Before I can even take a sip of my now cold coffee, Baker comes stomping back over, holding a clipboard like it's a golden ticket. The man's face is a mix of smugness and desperation. Like he knows he's about to say some serious bullshit, but hopes I'll buy it anyway. "All right, Mr. Wilson," he starts, dragging out my last name like it physically pains him. "Here's the deal. We've got witnesses who saw you recklessly cutting across lanes, which led to this accident. You're looking at a hefty fine and a possible court date." I blink at him, deadpan. "Witnesses? Dude, the only people here when this happened were you and your 2 sidekicks." Smith, leaning casually against my Jeep like he owns it, chimes in. Yeah, well, we're witnesses too, and we're officers of the law. That means our word carries weight. I can't help it, I laugh. Not a polite chuckle, but a full-on belly laugh that probably wasn't the smartest move in the moment. Baker's face tightens, his knuckles white as he grips the clipboard. Something funny, Mr. Wilson? He growls, trying to sound intimidating. Oh, you bet your ass it's funny, I shoot back. You rear-end me, and now you're trying to act like I'm the bad guy? What's next? You gonna arrest me for existing? Smith and Johnson exchange a look. You know the one. Like they're trying to figure out if they can push this any further without getting caught. Then Johnson steps up, and let me tell you, this guy's the cherry on top of the idiot's sundae. He's holding my phone, the one he snatched earlier, and he's got this little smirk that makes me want to punch something, preferably him. We checked your phone, Mr. Wilson, he says, waving it around like it's evidence in a murder trial. You've been recording officers without permission. That's illegal. Now, I know my rights, okay? But I also know arguing with these clowns isn't going to get me anywhere. So instead, I hit him with some sarcasm. Oh no, not illegal phone recordings, I gasp, clutching my chest like I'm having a heart attack. Whatever will I do? Guess I'll have to throw myself at the mercy of the court. The crowd, bless them, starts laughing. Johnson's smirk falters and Baker's face goes from red to purple. He steps closer, getting all up in my personal space. You think this is a joke? He hisses. You're looking at charges for obstruction, reckless driving, and endangering officers of the law, so unless you want to spend the night in a jail cell, I suggest you start cooperating. Cooperating. Right, because nothing screams justice like rolling over and letting these guys steamroll me. I glance at the crowd, cameras still rolling, and decide it's time to play the long game. All right, Officer Baker, I say, holding up my hands in mock surrender. What do you want me to do? Confess to a crime I didn't commit? Apologize for ruining your morning? Just sit tight in your car while we sort this out, he snaps, clearly irritated that I'm not groveling. Sure thing, boss, I say, climbing into my Jeep. But before I shut the door, I add, oh, and make sure you smile for the cameras. You're going to look great on the evening news. Baker's jaw drops, but I don't give him a chance to respond. I slam the door, lean back in my seat, and wait. The tension in the air is so thick you could cut it with a butter knife. Outside, the crowd is growing, and the murmurs are getting louder. One guy yells, "We've got it all on video," and another chimes in, "You better not mess this up, officers." Baker's shoulders stiffen, and for the first time I see real panic in his eyes. Good. But it's not over. Not by a long shot. A few minutes later, Baker and his buddies regroup. Smith pulls out his phone and starts typing furiously, probably calling for backup or trying to figure out how to delete the crowd's videos. Meanwhile, Johnson is pacing like a caged tiger, throwing glances at me every few seconds. Baker, on the other hand, is staring at his clipboard like it holds the answer to all his problems. I sip my coffee, watching the chaos unfold, and think to myself, these guys have no idea who they're messing with. But hey, that's a story for later. For now, I'm just getting started. So there I was, sitting in my Jeep like it was the goddamn Alamo while Baker, Smith, and Johnson continued their little huddle by the cruiser. Every now and then, Baker would glance my way, and you could almost see the steam coming out of his ears. Dude looked like a kettle about to blow. Meanwhile, the crowd around us? Oh, they were loving it. Phones out. Commentary flying. It was like live reality TV on the street corner. Suddenly, Baker waves me out of the car. "Step out, Mr. Wilson," he barks, trying to sound all official. Spoiler alert, it's not working. I climb out slowly, making sure to look as unimpressed as possible. "What's up, Officer Baker?" I ask, leaning casually against my door. "Decided to drop the act and apologize?" "Funny guy," Baker sneers, holding up a shiny pair of handcuffs. "We're placing you under arrest for obstruction of justice and reckless endangerment." "Reckless endangerment," I say, raising an eyebrow. "Bro, you're the ones who rear-ended me. Are you serious right now?" Before I can say more, Smith moves in, yanking my hands behind my back like he's auditioning for Cops Gone Wild. The metal cuffs click shut, and I swear half the crowd gasps like they're watching the season finale of their favorite drama. "You've got to be kidding me," I mutter as they start leading me toward the cruiser. "This is what you're doing with taxpayer money? Arresting people for sitting at a red light?" Baker smirks. "Maybe next time you'll think twice before mouthing off to the law." Now I know what you're thinking. This is the part where I lose my cool, right? Wrong. I let them march me to the cruiser, let them shove me into the back seat. Why? Because I knew something they didn't. Something that was about to turn this whole circus upside down. While we're waiting for their boss to show up, I lean back in the seat and give Baker my best poker face. "You know," I say casually, "you might want to run my name through the system before you go any further." Baker turns to glare at me, clearly annoyed. "Why's that, Wilson? You think you're some kind of big shot?" I shrug. Let's just say I've been in your shoes before, and if you keep pushing this, it's not gonna end well for you. Baker snorts, but there's a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Yeah, right. Sit tight, Mr. Wilson. This won't take long. 10 minutes later, another car pulls up. But this one's not a regular cruiser. It's a sleek, unmarked sedan with tinted windows, the kind you only see when someone important's about to ruin your day. A tall, no-nonsense looking guy in a suit steps out, and I can tell from the way Baker stiffens that this is his boss. Captain Williams, Baker stammers, practically snapping to attention. I didn't expect you to... Save it! Williams cuts him off, his tone sharp enough to slice through steel. He strides over to the cruiser, glances inside, and freezes when he sees me. Jerome? He says, his voice a mix of shock and recognition. I grin, finally dropping the poker face. Long time no see, Captain. Williams looks like he's just seen a ghost. For a moment, he doesn't say anything, just stares at me like he's trying to process how one of his former mentors ended up in the backseat of a squad car. Then he turns on Baker, and let me tell you, the man goes full drill sergeant. What the hell is this? Williams demands, gesturing to me. Do you even know who this is? Baker stammers something about obstruction and reckless endangerment, but Williams isn't having it. This man, Williams says, jabbing a finger at me, is Jerome Wilson, former captain of the 9th Precinct, one of the most decorated officers this department has ever seen. And you've got him sitting in the back of a cruiser like some common criminal? The look on Baker's face, priceless. Dude went from cocky to scared shitless in about 3 seconds flat. Smith and Johnson aren't faring much better. Smith looks like he wants to crawl under the nearest rock, and Johnson's just standing there, staring at his shoes like a kid who got caught stealing candy. Captain, we didn't... Baker starts, but Williams cuts him off again. Didn't what? Williams snaps. Didn't bother to check his credentials? Didn't think to handle this professionally? Or didn't think you'd get caught? The crowd, still filming, starts murmuring louder. Someone yells, "Yeah, you tell him," and I can't help but smile. Justice might be slow, but damn if it isn't satisfying. Williams turns to me, his expression softening. Jerome, I am so sorry about this. We'll take care of it. No need to apologize, Captain, I say, my tone calm but firm. But you might want to have a talk with your boys about how they're representing the department. Williams nods, his jaw tightening. You have my word. This will be dealt with. Baker tries one last time to salvage the situation. Sir, we were just following protocol. Protocol? Williams barks, cutting him off one last time. I'll show you protocol. Get your asses back to the station. Now. As the three stooges slink away, I step out of the cruiser, brushing off my suit like I'm shaking off the day's nonsense. Williams turns to me, his expression apologetic. Jerome, if there's anything I can do... Oh, don't worry, Captain, I say, shooting a glance at the crowd. I think I've got this handled. And just like that, the tables had turned. But the best part? The story wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. You ever see karma work in real time? Because that's exactly what happened next. After Captain Williams shut Baker, Smith, and Johnson down so hard they probably felt it in their souls, I figured the circus was over. But nah, the show was just getting started. The very next day, I get a call from the department. Turns out the footage from the crowd and my trusty dashcam didn't just clear my name. It made those three clowns internet famous. Yep, their little power trip went viral. Headlines read, "Cops harass former police captain, get put in their place." Let's just say the department wasn't thrilled. Then came the fun part. A formal apology? Sure. Drop charges? Of course. But the cherry on top? Compensation. Turns out, when you drag someone out of their car, slap cuffs on them, and try to frame them for your own screw-up, you owe them a little something. In this case, a fat check with my name on it. Baker, Smith, and Johnson. Oh, they didn't get off easy. Word on the street was they were suspended without pay and forced to take some kind of sensitivity training. Honestly, the only thing they learned was what it feels like to be humiliated in public. As for me, I used that money to open a youth center in my neighborhood, a place where kids could see what real leadership looks like. At the grand opening, someone asked if I had anything to say about those three officers. Yeah, I said with a smirk. Next time they want to play tough guys, they better learn who they're messing with first. The crowd cheered, and just like that, the chapter closed. Justice served.